So this is my current electronics workbench. I don't have a lot of space available, and right now I even have stuff here on the side. This drawer is supposed to be able to slide under the desk when I don't need it. I have the same one on the other side. So what I figured I wanted to do in order to organize all that better is to raise everything with a shelf. Something like this. This is the Ikea version. It's way too small. I want it to be higher so the scope would fit under it. I want it to be larger all the way on every side of the desk. And I want it to be just the depth that I need to put the scope under it and maybe the power supply. No more. I want to keep as much space as possible as a working area. Finally, this Ikea design has this curves on the side which waste a lot of space. You cannot put anything underneath here. You cannot put anything on top. It's wasted space. I want it to be as efficient, as space saving as possible. So what I want to do is build a shelf that uses all the width, that is approximately this high, and the depth of those elements here, because I don't think I need much more. The scope in itself is not very deep. One more thing I want to do is I find this lamp to not be high enough. It's impossible to put it any higher than that. Another failed Ikea design in my opinion. But to be honest, all such architect lamps are built too small nowadays. I would want the arms to be longer, but since it's almost impossible to find, except if you want to buy designer furniture, that is approximately 10 or 20 times the price when you can find some that are slightly longer. So, because I don't have a longer one for here, what I want to do is actually raise the base here. I want to also put it on the shelf, so it's going to be higher. Everything's going to be higher. The top of the lamp will also be higher, and it should solve the problem. So here's what I'm planning to do. Simple shelf with the right dimensions. Some elements that support it, at least one on each side. Of course, I want them to be square angled, no wasted space. And I will need additional ones in the middle to support the weight on the top. These two I plan to have fixed on every end. And those two I'd like to be mobile so I can move them a little bit in order to make space for whatever I want to put underneath. For example, if I want the scope at some specific position, I need to be able to move those a little bit to the left or to the right. So I went to the hardware store looking for some planks to build the shelf, and I found this very cheap laminated wood. These elements here are 260 centimeters long, over 20 centimeters wide, which is basically what I need almost. So I just need one plank at 10 euros, and for an extra 50 cents I could get it cut at 17 centimeters wide, which is what I need. But for the smaller cuts I decided to do them myself in my garage, just so I could dust off my radial arm saw just like once in a while. So from the very long plank I just need to cut off a couple of raises of 19 centimeters each, which is the height that I had previously predetermined for my shelf. I personally like to use my radial saw and do my own cuts when I can, because it's kind of very satisfying the way it cuts like through butter and does this perfect cut. But of course, if you don't have one, those extra cuts can just as well be done at the hardware store. Again, at 50 cents each, it's a no-brainer. So here I started by cutting 3 of these. Okay, so here's what I did for the assembly. First, I clamped the different pieces of shelf into place. I used these square angle jigs to be sure that I would have a square angle, and then some clamps to temporarily hold them in place. And I decided that I was going to use 3 screws for each side. So here I already put one. I'm going to put another one here and another one here. The most important part is to align them to the center of wood here. So I carefully drill the holes vertically at a diameter that is slightly smaller than the one of the screws I'm going to use. And then the next step would be to chamfer the entry of the hole so that it would match the shape of the screws. To do that, I used the chamfer bit like that. This might not be the best one, but it's the one I had and it worked just fine for what I had to do. Here's the result. And then I screwed in the screw, and the end result is that it's flush with the surface. The result is not perfect, but I will have stuff on my shelf, and this will not be a visible part. This side here will be visible, and at the other end of the shelf, this side should not be visible, it should be towards the wall. So here we have the shelf on the desk. It feels a bit high, but that was the idea. Let's put the Ikea one next to it again in order to see the difference. Yeah. So, as you can see, it's a different animal. So right now I only have one additional vertical element. It's actually maybe a millimeter higher than the ones on the sides, but it's okay. Here in the middle you can see it's 2 or 3 millimeters. So the middle is already hanging a little bit. So this is why I have this. I can slide it underneath right here, and it will support the top. And then here the length is not long enough for this to really curve down. This can still be moved and adjusted, and at some point I will create some way to affix this to hold it in place. But for now, this is good enough for testing. First thing I want to do is put the lamp onto it, and I want to see if the lamp's weight will make the whole thing tilt over. Done, and check that out. The lamp is really high now, higher than my head, and even if I lean it all the way forward, if it's heavy enough to hold it in place, it's not tilting over. It's fantastic. Of course, if I pull on it, it's easy to tip it over, but in normal usage, even if I put it way down like that, it still holds in place. Maybe it's starting to tip a little bit, but I will never do that, and I will have some additional weight here that will hold it in place. So that's perfect. That means I don't need to worry about keeping the shelf fixed to the desk for now. Next, I'm checking that the scope fits under the shelf, but I didn't screw up the dimensions. Monitor fits onto the shelf, and the lamp fits above it. The monitor right now is back on its original stand, and this amount I had used here I will remove. Right now I want the monitor to contribute weight onto the shelf in order to counterbalance the lamp. And this is the result. A nice large working area here. The lamp is high enough to be out of the way and to eliminate the whole working area. I have space here. I have space here. And there's a lot of things I could actually fit under the shelf as well as onto the shelf. And so this for me fits the bill much better than this would have done.